All right, welcome back. It's a little bit longer duration than I wanted it to be. I just kind of ran into some distraction and wanted to get this done. So I actually got those bell cranks done. As you can see, they're in there and they turned out really good. So I'm real happy with them. They look good. Some fun camera work there for you. Woo. But I ended up polishing up the steering link there. I cleaned up. That turned out pretty good. I use blue magic and then just polish it with a buffing wheel on a drill. But just cleaning up hoses and wires. Got the airbox cleaned up. As far as the jack shaft, yeah, that's all cleaned up and ready to go. I ended up getting new bolts for the disc brake there, and just kind of rough that up a little bit, all in the same direction, because it looked like it was, I don't know if they were just smoking that thing or what, but I noticed that the caliper it's got new brake pads on it, so, and that's good. I'm not sure exactly what they did, but yeah, the thing was just black almost, and it looks like it's got a little bit of a shape, like it's almost like it's concave from the inside out. So if you're looking at it from the outside, it's convex. Just a hair. So I'm going to try it and see how it works. I mean, it should be fine. I think that the brake caliper will allow the pads to grab it just fine. Shouldn't be any issues there. But just just your general cleanup and detail work is really what I'm doing here. I mean, I got it all like I said, I told myself I wasn't going to do this, but you know what? May as well. I ended up, I'm not sure if I said this last time, but I blasted that with soda and cleaned that up. Like I said, I got the jack shaft, got the fuel lines in. They're wrapped and protected with some wire loom in choice spots. And the wire loom is not my first choice, I'll be honest. The wire loom, this is just for, if there's mild, vibration. But if it's going to get rubbed, if it's in a tight spot and it's going to get rubbed, like on my ZR700, that's got the same exact hose right here. Well, it goes under a mount pretty tight. And, once because the hose is a little different on my ZR. It ends up having a bend up. So it bends up like this at like a 45 and then straightens back out to go into the coolant pump. And so right around this area, it rubs on the mount for that. So I ended up wrapping that on my ZR700 with another piece of hose that I have some hose that I'll keep, old hose, and then just pieces of rubber that I have, thick rubber. And I'll keep that stuff, and then I'll wrap areas like that where it's like a real definite high rub area. And that does real good to protect it. I mean, the thicker the better, in my opinion. I don't have to worry about it. So, but little pieces like this, that's just in case there's going to be some tapping here and there. That helps to protect and, just take any worry out of riding and operating it so I can enjoy the ride and not have to worry about any of that stuff. That's like a huge thing that I go by, is making sure that I take every step to make sure things are safe and worry-free, because, I ride snowmobiles and power sports because I enjoy them, so I don't want to have to ride them and worry about something going wrong or, anybody getting hurt, anything like that. So yeah, so slow and steady. You might be able to see it. I took the whole sway bar I took out and got that all cleaned up. But yeah, it's basically brand new again. So I cleaned up the sway bar links. These ones are actually plastic, which somebody mentioned to me before, and I was like, well, I never actually seen plastic. But I don't have any snowmobiles that are newer up until this point than 2000. I have that 600 over there that's a 2002, and this 800 is an 02. So Yeah, so that's plastic ones. But I did over the weekend, actually on Friday, I went and got a whole bunch of new bolts. I mean, I spent about 40 bucks and got, I would say, everything that I need to put the whole front end back together, rebuild the engine, everything. So the skid looks pretty bad to me. And I mean, the shocks need to be rebuilt. I got to get both these shocks rebuilt. I got a guy out in, he's like Almont or something, close to Almont, and maybe Washington or something like that. And he rebuilds my shocks, real good price. But his name's, I don't know if he wants me dropping his name, so I won't say it right now. I'll ask him when I send these out, and then I'll, if he's okay with it. He said it's okay if I mention him on Facebook, so I mean, I guess it would be okay if I drop his name. His name's Guy Kitchen, exactly how you hear it, Guy and then Kitchen. Super nice guy, great price, 30 bucks for a shock, like a full shock rebuild. He does the nitrogen charge and everything, and new seals, the whole 9 yards, everything that it needs to be rebuilt, and it's like brand new. And then 35 bucks for shocks that have reservoirs, whether they're clicker. These are to be the first ones that don't actually have the clicker that I sent to him. I got some ZR2 shocks rebuilt by him, and these are fully rebuilt last year. Haven't even used them yet, so my daughter's sled is a 98 ZL, and it's got reservoirs. I'm not sure if it has reservoir shocks on it or not. But either way, I'm going to put these on there because the shafts on those are just ate up. I mean, they're just pitted and rusted. If this was the shaft, they're like this much is rust. It's pretty bad. So, yeah, that, let's see. I've been working on a few parts here. These are just just little pieces that I'm going to use, or that I'm going to go ahead and powder coat. These are shims for the driven clutch, and this stuff's already been sandblasted and heated. I don't know why it was weird. It turned color, and that's not grease. These were all parts that were yellow zinc coated, and I sandblasted them, and it's weird. It's like this weird color comes out of them. It's like I'm not sure exactly why or what it's doing. If anybody knows, let me know. I'd appreciate it. I don't know if it's going to affect the powder coating or not. Trying to get a good focus here, but doesn't seem like it wants to focus. Sorry. So anyway, it's like I don't know, because it doesn't seem. I mean, you can, if it were to focus, you could see all the speckles where it's been sandblasted. I'm not sure if it was just something in the. It seemed like that's where all the rust was, honestly, and that's not rust. It's like a brown, almost like a dark sandy color. It's probably hard to tell in the video, but anyways. So yeah, that goes and that holds on the overflow reservoir for the coolant. And then I got the 2 drop links for the sway bars. I have this is the bracket for the servo. And then these are just 2 spacers that go behind the coil. And then I got the 2 intake boot clamps. So, or intake flange clamps for the carbs. And then down here, this is the plate that goes on the bottom around the exhaust. Goes on the bottom of the belly pan on the exhaust side. And it was pretty. I did my best to try and straighten it out, but it was all caved in right here, and it was just all out of shape, just from hitting a bunch of stuff. The guy that I got this sled from said his son rode it, so he probably just hit anything and everything without even thinking. And then this is a piece that goes on the inside. It's just a retainer ring for a rubber grommet that goes around here. I don't know if I should get a new one of those or not, or like a used one or not. The exhaust is, because normally they have like a flexible cylinder that comes up that's like, it's got ribs in it so it can bend and, you know, whatever for the exhaust, and it'll slip down in there. So I'm not sure if that would be a good idea or not. I'm not sure if this one actually came with it. I have to look it up in the parts diagram. I would assume it does, but either way, this is the next part, like the main part that's kind of holding up assembly. And I've been fighting this one. This is the bracket that goes on the side here and holds, it's the jack shaft bearing housing, and it goes right there. And so it wasn't painted or coated or anything. It was just aluminum. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some super chrome. I figure if I accent this thing with some super chrome, it'll look pretty sweet, you know, because the super chrome powder coating ends up coming out looking like that anyway. So if I hit this with some super chrome and then just a few choice pieces, all this stuff is going to be hit in super chrome. So I'm getting ready to do that. But like I was saying, this one I've been fighting trying to get grease or just oil, because you have to bake them before you powder coat them. You want to bake them at 450 degrees for 10 to 20 minutes really. And there's two spots. There's one spot right here that keeps pushing oil out. There's one spot right here, and then I think another one over here. I think this one's gone, but I've baked this thing. This will be the third time it's going in. Third or fourth time it's going back in for 15, 20 minutes. And then I'll bring it out, I'll degrease it, and it's just, there must be in there somewhere. That's just paint or something, or powder coating. Oh, there's a little spot right there. Why the heck doesn't this thing focus? Sorry. But anyways, it's right there. You can see the dark spot. So, yeah, so this is getting ready to go back in right now. The oven, I just got, you know, this crappy old $40 oven, and it does pretty good. I got the steering shaft. That was tough. This whole steering shaft, that's the longest piece I've done, and I had to put it like front to back and then top to bottom, and I had to put it on an angle to get it in there. Same thing with the sway bar, but the steering shaft is a lot longer than the sway bar, and the jack shaft. The jack shaft wasn't difficult. I think the most difficult part was the steering shaft, because I rigged up this thing and I had to put it right in the corner. It's got a little bump on the bottom of the oven there on the inside, so I had to level it out and put this in there and then hang it in the upper right hand corner. I had to drill a pilot hole. I'm sure you might be able to see it. It's really hot. Yeah, back in there I put a little hanger and then put this down here and then set it down like that. So, but I'm getting ready to put these back in the oven. So I go ahead and slip these back in here. And hopefully I won't see any more grease out of this stinking thing. Just pop this in. I wouldn't dare do this with one hand after powder coating. This is just let it go. This thing's filthy. I cleaned it up when I initially got it, and it's just coated in powder at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the timer. It's already at 450 degrees. You can do the temp recall. And let's set it to, I'm just gonna hit it for 20. I heard 10 to 15, but I'm gonna hit it for 20. Make sure it's all out when it comes out. Hopefully it'll cook any off, and I'll be done with it. So, all right, there's that. Can I do the temp recall? There's a waiting period in between when you set it and then when you can use the temp recall button. Maybe if I hit the clock first and then temp recall. There, so it's 4:50 on the dot. So I'll do that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out. Hopefully the grease is off, And then I'm going to powder coat those in the super chrome like I said. And then I'll pull those out and I'll show those to you guys. I'm sure, and I really wanted to make sure that I was meticulous with getting the oil out of that aluminum bracket, the one I'm fighting with. Because when I did my wife's sled, I noticed that there were quite a few bubbles on the aluminum pieces on her motor mounts, because I did all her motor mounts in super chrome, and there were some bubbles, and it's from the grease. And what it'll do is it'll make a bubble, and then you can literally like flick the bubble off or like pick it off. And so I wasn't real happy with that, but I needed to get that one done, and I just left it. And I figured out finally what it was, and now I'm taking precaution, and I'm going to make sure that I do that with the motor mounts on this one as well. So the last thing that I could show you guys is this stuff. Okay, so this is the CDI box here, and this, I don't know how the heck people get their stuff so dirty. I mean, I try and clean mine off. Yeah, you know, you're gonna fight corrosion, I guess, but dirt, I mean, it's like it was wet, and then I don't know, they just left it outside or something, and it just uncovered. Mowing the lawn, and you know, dry days, mowing the lawn, and gets crap everywhere. This is the servo motor here. I was going to take this piece off, this back piece here, and clean it, and then sandblast it and powder coat it. I wanted to do it in super chrome. I thought that looked pretty sweet. But there's magnets on the inside of that, because there's a motor. It's just a little electric motor in here, and it spins. It's got a gearbox, and you know, this is basically the transmission, if you will, which is, you know, just power from one place to another. And so it spins this, and when it spins this way, it'll open up these valves at, I thought somebody said it was at high end. If that's wrong, correct me. Then obviously it would be at the low end. It would open up. What it does is it opens up I think it's high end, because it opens the valve, the exhaust valves up, and I think it makes them bigger is what it does, a little bit bigger, so you can get better airflow when you're at the higher RPMs, which would make sense if they designed it to where it's got better throttle response at lower RPMs. Then it wouldn't have as good a response. I assume, if I'm correct, it's because the way they poured it to have better throttle response at lower RPMs, they need these to have better throttle response, or as much power as it can get at higher RPMs. Or it's the opposite. It's where they poured it to where it's got better RPMs at higher RPMs, and then, or it's got better power at higher RPMs, and then this opens up at lower RPMs, which I don't think it's that way. I think it's the other way around. So I clean just little stuff. You know, I took each one of these bolts off one by one, cleaned those, hit it with some Blue Magic, and polished them up. And then this cover goes on here. I clean this up. I mean, like I said, all this stuff, you know, I mean, just the difference in how clean it is, you know. And then I'll hit this with, I like to use Aerospace 303. It's pretty good stuff for plastic and vinyl. It protects from UV and cracking, fading over time, blah, blah, blah. So this thing as well has like a grime on it, and most used sleds will have this. It's like I wouldn't say corrosion. I think it's just a buildup of like, it's got to be salt deposits. So salt gets on there, and then it just dries up. I don't know if that's right. I've never gotten an answer or looked into it. That's just my best guess at this point, that it's, because you see it on exposed parts like this, and then there was some on the sway bar links here, and I had to soak these. Actually look pretty good now. I soaked them in, oh yeah, by the way, that stuff is called mean green that I was talking about before. So I soaked both of these overnight in that, and then I took a gray like wool scrubby and scrubbed them clean, and then used a little bit of Dawn dish soap and did that. So yeah, that turns out pretty good. But yeah, in high, you know, exposure places, you'll find that on this. It was even on these little bushings for the sway bar. So Yeah, you got to scrub that stuff off. I'm still going to have to scrub under here. That's all pretty dirty. So once I get these control arms and spindles off, I'll hit that stuff. That almost looks like there was black paint under there. Huh. I'm going to have to look at some pictures. Maybe they were black and they just decided to hit them with that metallic gray. That's funny. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, so just cleaning up this little things like this. You know, the details are where I think a restore really shines. Like this piece right here. This will get mounted to the air box right here. And then the servo gets mounted to that. Well, I'm doing this in super chrome. It was like a dark olive green, almost like an army green color with the galvanization on it. So yeah, I think that'll look pretty sharp. So it'll kind of, you only see like that much of this piece here because it gets tucked back in a little indentation in the air box. So I think with that being super chrome, that'll kind of set it off. And this gets tucked up in the top of the air box. This goes on the front of the air box and all this stuff. You know, it's just, this whole thing was grimy. It's, you know, people just don't clean stuff and they just drive it into the ground. And, you know, kind of like I'm doing my garage. It's, you know, there's a little bit more space in here now. And yeah, that shelf is packed now, so I'm gonna have to build more. And it's just got odds and ends up there. And just, I'm a box keeper, and that's one of my big issues. I like to keep boxes just in case I need to get a warranty on it or something stupid. But yeah, here's, like I said, I got the engine. It's a mess. Been trying to do a lot. Been trying to put tools away as much as I can. You know, obviously I leave little things out. But I got a bunch of new fasteners for it. Little stuff. You know, all these here. These were the old ones that held that little cover over the servo motor there. These held that bracket that I said was olive green, and I'm going to hit it with super chrome that holds on that the servo attaches to. Those were all jacked up, so I got 4 new ones. Yeah, just little stuff. These were the old bolts that from the sorry, I'm trying to see if I can get it to focus better. Or am I just kind of stuck? Yeah, I think I am because I chose like the wide angle. But anyways, these are the bolts that went to there's 6 of them. They went to the disc brake. The brake disc, whatever. And these are just parts here from, I think this is an upper shock mount, and that's a lower, or maybe a lower control arm bolt. So I got all brand new head bolts. Here's that polishing wheel that I use to polish everything. I usually set that off to the side along with one of these, and I hit the metal first and then hit it with some Blue Magic and then polish it up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's just a lot of tedious stuff. So, but slow and steady. I got a bunch of new bolts here. It was all laid out nice and pretty. I took a picture of it, but grease that stinking that bracket for the jack shaft thing. And these are all. This is for the engine. I got all brand new bolts for the engine, except for these. There's 4 of these, and I didn't want to have to worry about those stretching. So I'm just going to clean those heads up real good, polish them real nice, coat them real nice, and go from there. I'd like to eventually get into zinc coating, yellow zinc coating. And all you got to do is just get the zinc, and then I got a power supply I can use. You just need a tub. It's better if you get a circulation pump going. I watched this guy on YouTube. I don't know his name, but yeah, you just you get a tub, and the guy said it's best if you have it circulating, the water. So you could just get like a little aquarium pump, and I got plenty of those because I breed fish. And so you just get a circulation pump, and then you just hang the stuff on one side. I'd sandblast it first, hang it on one side. You put the zinc on the other, and then you have the electrodes on both of those. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's the negative, the grounding will be on the part that you want to attract, I think, maybe. No, maybe it's a positive. And then the negative would be on the zinc. And so you let that go for at a certain voltage, certain amperage for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and then you take it out. And I'm not sure if you have to let it dry at that point or not, but then either way after that, all you got to do is dip it in an iodine water. I think it's purified water mix, and you should dip it a few times and then rinse it off, and then you let it dry, and it's got that yellow zinc. So I might get into that. So I got a ton of bolts. I'm getting tons of bolts from these that I'm just replacing because they're just corroded and nasty looking. Some of them have rust. So that's always something that I could do in my free time and whatever, have extras or, sound the people that need them. I don't know. So, all right, that's it. Thanks a lot. I'll be back just to show you how the parts that I'm baking right now, how they turn out after the powder coating. All right, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys in a minute.